The strong odor of gasoline traced back to the fuel pump area of my Lexus. In this video, we're going to show how we remove the fuel pump, replace the lock ring and O-ring, and solve this issue. If you are looking to do a fuel pump assembly replacement on a Lexus HS250h or other similar Lexus models around the 2010 era, this video will help you do that entire process. Welcome to DIY Around the Home. Pull up a seat, get comfortable, let's dive right in. Because the fuel pump's under the rear seat, we'll make space by moving the front seats forward. Okay, I just basically put like one hand here and one hand over here and just kind of lift really hard, and it disconnected. Definitely deforms a little bit over there, but just gonna do this now on this other side over here, and this whole thing should lift up on the front. And from there we just gotta disconnect the two back hooks, and this whole entire seat should remove. Okay, that came off pretty dang easy, just lifting up, and you can kind of see back there there's a little hook with some yellow foam. I just pulled it forward, I didn't even like do much. Oh yeah, I could feel a little metal thing, so I just needed to disconnect. Now I'm gonna go release that one over there, and once that's done, this whole entire bottom should come out. Okay, it took a bit to get the hook disengaged. This one actually came off pretty easy, but my problem is I was pulling the cushion forward. I actually needed to push the cushion down and into the hook, and then press down on the part connected to the seat. So push down that way and push the piece, so then it then wraps around this metal and then comes out. So my problem is I was pulling, which was never going to work because this hook is clearly there for a reason. And so it was more about pushing the cushion that way, pushing down on the thing around this, and as you push down, it then allowed it to come out. So here we are. There is our lovely fuel pump access panel. It's a good idea at this point to take a picture so you can see the exact orientation before you remove the cap off. Do the same thing here so you can see exactly how things are put back together and what aligns with what. Okay, here we are. Had to pry it a little bit, but gonna need to disconnect this connector so I can fully remove this. Okay, I got this connector off by pushing down on this quite hard and then pulling out. Lets us swing our little sticky cap over here. Gonna have these, gonna push that way, that way. And once they're released from this clip, then pull out here. I'll use a screwdriver to do that, but maybe don't even need the screwdriver. Yep, looks like we don't. So place that to the side, don't lose that. After vacuuming and wiping up the area, now it's time to take off the fuel line. What I would recommend here, it just actually sprayed up a little bit and made a little bit of a mess, is to bring a towel. Recommendation is to bring a towel and cover it and lift it up. Now there might be better ways to depressurize the tank. That's how I'm doing it. Again, you might want to research a little bit more on that, but you definitely want to have eye protection. Definitely want to have some things to soak up some fuel, but there's likely going to be some pressure release here. And so that's what I'm doing here, is releasing the line and then clearing the space so that we can now insert the tool on the lock ring. Here I'm using a pretty solid size 1/2 inch ratcheting wrench. I actually found, as you'll see here in just a second, that it actually wasn't enough torque. It was much easier to step up to a larger bar, and you'll see that here shortly. But what you really want to do is you just want to align the teeth of the tool. They'll perfectly sink in and fit right on the lock ring. Here I am kind of whacking at it, trying to get it to move. It just didn't really go well. And this is a decent size 1/2 inch drive. So my recommendation, whether it's a breaker bar or long torque wrenches, which you'll see me use here in just a second, it helps to have a little bit extra length. Okay, here we are with the much larger torque wrench. As you can see, I insert it into the spot and very quickly it budges and starts to come free. So you just work it around, make sure you do push a little bit of pressure downward so the teeth stay engaged on the tool with the lock ring, but it'll just loosen over time, and you can kind of keep just working it around, and the lock ring will eventually come off. Now, without this tool, you're going to be probably taking a screwdriver and kind of hammering away at these little teeth on the lock ring to get it to move. I think that's crazy. This tool isn't that expensive. It was like 20 bucks, and man, it just made the job easy. I don't have to worry about breaking anything, and I can have a lot of control when I tighten it back. Something you will notice, because the fuel pump itself has got a spring in it, the second the lid detaches, the fuel pump is pushing upwards. So kind of stuck in this awkward moment where all of a sudden the tool is pinched into the frame of the car. As you can see, I got it free and then eventually worked the lock ring off. Pretty old lock ring, pretty dirty, pretty nasty. There's the gasket below the fuel pump. Pulled out both of those. You're going to be putting new ones in. Now, if you're going to do the fuel pump, it's just a matter of pulling out this old fuel pump, taking it completely out, pushing in the new one, lining it up, and then inserting of course, insert the gasket, the O-ring, before putting in the new pump. But then it's just a matter of reversing the steps. It's really that forward and simple. You do need to line it up just right, or the fuel pump will not go back and sync and mate perfectly with the car. So that is something why I recommend taking the pictures, so you can make sure that everything is in alignment. So when you do push it down and those springs are fighting you, you can get it in the exact spot it needs to, so it actually goes all the way down, because you're going to have problems big time if you don't get the pump fully seated and installed correctly. So again, great opportunity to kind of clean some grime off. My fuel pump ended up not being the issue. It really was just a bad lock ring and O-ring to get my fuel smell situation solved. But if you're replacing the fuel pump, this is exactly when you want to do it. You just take out the old one, stick in the new one, and you're repeating the process backwards, and you're good to go. Before putting on that lock ring, have a little bit of Toyota rubber grease here, just kind of wiping around, applying a little bit. This will make the lock ring a little bit easier to get off next time. Again, I'm working on diagnosing the issue of a smelly fuel stinky car, and I wanted to make sure this is going to be really easy to take off. If I did end up having to replace the housing of the fuel pump or the entire fuel pump assembly, it would be really easy, because this ring is lubricated and it's going to come off a little bit easier. So just really wiping that around in the threads of the cap here with my thumb, kind of driving that in. At the end of the day, you also don't want to put too much, because you don't want that to mix with the fuel. So go pretty light here. I ended up just getting some paper towel and kind of cleaning up the excess on the top and bottom. Just really wanted to get a little bit of the goo inside the middle threads. So that's what I did. I had a total brain fart when I was installing this back together. For some weird reason, I thought the O-ring went on top. So here you see some footage, and I'll realize here shortly that that actually isn't going to work, and that the O-ring actually goes below the fuel pump. It kind of looks like it might go there, because hey, it's in the exact same spot where the plastic is a little bit lighter, but that's not actually the case. The O-ring goes below the fuel pump. So you'll see me here try to spin this around, but it ultimately doesn't connect and bond and mate well. So learn from my lesson. Don't do this, and you'll save yourself some time. All right, here we are doing it the right way. As you can see, got a little bit better lighting. Have the O-ring and the lid right next to each other. Going to go ahead and place the O-ring right in this space. It fits perfectly right on the tank, and there's a little bit of a lip that holds the rubber O-ring from falling in. You'll see it probably a little bit better in person, but the O-ring perfectly just kind of sits right there. The one thing that is a little bit annoying with this job is that little hose with the tube. It kind of gets in the way. If you can kind of push it back up underneath and out of the way, that'll make things maybe a little bit easier, but I usually just kind of finagled around it. It was a little annoying, but you know, got the job done regardless. Okay, here we are, pushing the hose out of the way, replacing the fuel pump, kind of work its way in. This particular fuel pump has kind of two levels. This bottom one that is holding in my hands right now. And then once it's into the tank, into the actual fuel, you can now kind of push the filter forward now that the bottom part is in the fuel, just like that, which will now allow you to lower the upper portion down. And as you can see, it's already kind of aligned in a similar angle and arrangement as to how it was when it came out, which is going to allow it to seat in fully, which is again vital. You do have a little bit of a tab. It doesn't really show up in the video, but there's a little bit of tab that you can fill around this edge that lets you know exactly how to line it. But you'll also know that just when it pushes down that there won't be a gap. It'll just sit flush up against that O-ring and things will be great and ready to rock and roll. So once you're doing that, you know, you keep one of your hands on the actual fuel pump because again, there's a spring. It's going to be fighting you. It's going to want to shoot up. It's going to want to pop out of the fuel tank, but keep that hand there. Take the lock ring, kind of finagle it right underneath that hose, and then push your other hand down on the fuel pump, get the ring, kind of start threading it. What I like to do with threads is actually spin backwards. That really helps things from cross threading. So spin backwards a little bit, then start spinning the right direction, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So in this case, clockwise. So as you can see, starting to twist and spin while keeping my hand on the pump so it stays down and seated correctly. So it is a little awkward. It took me a few minutes. There were times where I didn't feel like it was going on correctly. One side would kind of catch on the threads and the other side wouldn't. So the edge of the lock ring on one side was lifted up. You just kind of have to go back and forth until you get it, and it'll eventually start working its way down. And then definitely you're going to need the tool to tighten it the full length. You're only going to see just in this little clip of me getting it kind of situated by hand. But once it's going in nice and solid, you'll kind of fill it and then you'll pull out the tool and use that in the next step. Okay, with it starting to thread well, now we take the tool and just kind of reverse the process by tightening it now. You'll know that you've tightened it enough because when you push on the top of the fuel pump, it won't be springy. If the fuel pump bounces up and down when you're done tightening, you haven't tightened it enough. Ultimately, the fuel pump should not bounce up and down when you push on it with your finger. So you know you've gone far enough when that doesn't happen. So there you go, saved over $1,200 by doing this myself. As mentioned earlier, we've linked all the items in the video description below. Which, by the way, if you click on one of those links and buy something, shortly after I might get a small kickback at no cost to you. Also, there's a way to help small creators like myself via the Super Thanks button below the video. And lastly, it wouldn't be a video from the internet if I didn't ask you to hit the subscribe button. At least my pleading was at the end of the video, so you didn't have to sit through that before getting the information you came for. Regardless of what you may or may not do, I appreciate your time.